Welcome to A Home and Healing for Every Child. I'm your host, Melissa. This season, we're speaking with foster and kinship carers, guardians and adoptive parents, sharing honest conversations about what it really means to open your home and support children and young people in care. Caring for kids is meaningful and rewarding work, but it can also be complex and challenging. This podcast exists to bring carers together through real-life advice and lived experience. Whether you're just starting out or have been a carer for years, this space is for you. Let's dive in. Thanks, Richard and Naji, for joining us today. I can't wait to hear further about your journey. I heard some of it at the conference last year. So let's get started. When you look back now, what sets you both on the path to become foster carers?
I guess for me, it's about knowing that young people deserve better. I think, I spend a lot of time working with kids that have complex backgrounds, and it's not often about what you see. It's always that kind of hidden, invisible stuff that is easily overlooked, and it's easy to kind of see a behaviour and judge them on their behaviour. Easy to make those decisions. So for us, well, for myself in particular, it's always, I truly feel that every kid wants a home and every kid wants to be loved. And I think that we're in a position to be able to do that.
What's something people outside the system consistently misunderstand about foster carers?
I used to be one of them. I come from a very sheltered upbringing. I was raised with two amazing parents, siblings, and given everything in life that I thought was everyone's reality. I never really had to think about what was out there and the kids that required the help. And I think one of the biggest things that people miss is that there are children in homes or in, I don't know what it is. It's in out of home care that Richard's taught me about, that opened my eyes, and I was like, whoa, what can we do now to help? And there's so many people out there that have the means to be able to foster children, but don't know about it. They're not aware that it's out there. And that's, for me, is one of the biggest misconceptions, is that there's certain families and communities that don't even know that fostering even exists. So that's for me is the biggest misconception.
And if I add something, I think it's the behaviours of children. I think it's, to put in perspective, we as adults also act out, and it's important to understand that if we're placed in situations that require us to defend for ourselves or to stick up or advocate for ourselves, well, we often do, and it looks different and it's tolerated as adults, yet when children protect themselves with what they know, and that's kind of the learnt skills, it's all of a sudden there's a problem. And that to me is really irritating, because when kids behave in a particular way, it's usually because their environment's been disrupted and they're doing nothing but what we ordinarily would do as adults. And the only difference is we have those skills, kids don't. So it's really important to understand that when you see those behaviours, that protective factor and those things that happen, that's quite normal. And it's not,
Yes.
It's about seeing them through that. And I think it's, one of the things that we will be talking about, and I hope we do kind of touch on it, is it's not always about what's wrong with them. It's about what happened to them. And it's really trying to understand that there's always another picture and there's another side.
Yes.
And, unless you come in with those being open, you'll never see it, because it's easy to fall in entrapment. Just that's how they behave. So that must just be what defines them.
Yes. So if you were talking to people that wanted to become foster carers, or perhaps you're actually just trying to open up other people's eyes to the fact that, foster children and young people are out there, how would you try and explain that drilling down to?
Look, I'd probably start off by making sure that you set your expectations to reality and remind yourself as to what it was like being a kid, and then put into practice everything that these children haven't got and work out, is it really out of context what they're doing? I think getting foster carers to really understand that when you lower your expectations and you work on that relationship, that's the foundation. Because without a relationship, it doesn't matter what I say, doesn't matter what I do, it doesn't matter how skilled I am, it doesn't matter, because kids work on relationships. And I know this not just from, my 25 years in the sector, but it's, I've got 2 kids that I feel like we've trialed it, we took on kids, 2 of the hardest kids. These 2 kids were not able to be placed anywhere. They were at their end. And we managed to save them. So I think that, it's important that if you are able to have and build relationships, you can care for anyone, because behaviors are things that can be switched off. They're there because they need to be there.
Yes.
And I don't blame them.
Yes.
I think another thing for what foster parents sometimes get trapped in as well, it's something that I chose not to do. Richard is quite clinical. He has been in the sector for 25 years. And when we first took on our eldest, they come with a portfolio. They come with a story already lined up for them, written by somebody else, not by themselves. And I chose not to read it. I chose not to read his past. I chose not to focus on the stories that other people have set out for him on pages that he didn't know how to read or write. And I chose to go into this, you could say blind, but with a very, very open heart. And I think that's something that foster carers sometimes have to look past. You might be given a folder that has photos, stories, doctors' reports. They don't define the person. They always have a story, and their story needs to be told by them and not by somebody else.
And I'll probably just add as well, and I'm glad you raised that, but is the priorities. Like, I'll be honest, and when I had my 2 boys, in particular the last one, there were so many priorities placed on us as to what was needed to happen, and I didn't do any of it because for me it didn't matter, because I needed to build a relationship with this kid, because everything else wasn't going to work unless I had a relationship, and I'm glad I did that.
Yes.
And I told him clearly, I actually told the agency that I needed 3 months of just not being, kind of contacted all the time and so much pressure, because, I needed to make sure that this kid knew that what I wanted to do was provide them with options and let them make a decision. And all my job was to be a little bit creative as to how I allowed them to
maneuver the choice.
Yeah.
Let's say we'll maneuver it.
Yes.
Yeah,
We'll test it
Yeah,
out.
we'll test it.
we went from
We'll set the paths.
Yes.
And
we worked with with him, where he wasn't seeing speech, IT, physio, behavioral mentoring, just none of it. Into 3 months later, he was doing all of it.
Good.
And it was his choice. It
Yes.
wasn't my choice. And I was open to say, hey, if it doesn't work out, that's okay, because you need to connect with the people. I said, but if you connect and you like it, then I'm going to hold you accountable for that. And I want it done. So you make your choice wise. And they did. And I think it's just about that, making sure that people feel that they've got control.
Yes.
Because even as adults, I know for me in my roles, and I've taken some pretty big roles, but, I need to be able to make decisions, and I need to be able to have people back up, including my team. And it's leadership, right? Is being able to make decisions and your team follow and trust in your decision. It's
Yes.
no different to a child. They follow your leadership and they look up to you.
Yes. No, definitely. Well, it sounds like even within the first 3 months, there were plenty of surprises and also genuinely being taught something by the young person in your care. What other sorts of surprises and teachings have you encountered?
I guess with the young one, he gave me this sense of hope that, and it's, I don't know how to explain it, but yes, I've had it with my older one, but with the younger one is, what I started to feel was like when I would see him do things that was just against the odds. Like, you look at someone like our young one, and you look at the history, you look at this kid now and you'll go, there's no way. Every model, every, therapy, every single document would point to this kid would be a statistic, So when they do things, there are moments where I step out of it and I just have to go, geez, I'm so proud of you.
Yes.
You know, because it's not, you know, and I just think back to when I was young and go, would I have made the same decision? You know, would I have been as committed as this kid given the history? And I promise you, no, I wouldn't have taken a chance at all. So I don't know what it is that we do. I don't know what it is that happens, but this kid takes risks and does things that just melt my heart, you know, and I'm a big softie when it comes to that, because I think that, you know, there is so much good in these kids that, you know, you look at reports.
It gets overlooked.
It is,
Yes.
And those challenges that you do face on the day-to-day, they're no different to any child's challenges. They don't have to be a biological child for you to understand what challenges and what hardships they've had to go through and why they shy away from some of these stories that they don't want to share because they feel like they're going to be judged. The biggest surprise for me is when he said, "I love you." That for me was like a massive change. And I think that happened, 8 months after he came into our care, and he calls us dad. Like, and I'll tell you a little bit of a story of something that shocked me a little bit. It was Father's Day last year. He was at school. The teacher said, "I've got a father sticker. Does anyone want to take it home?" And our youngest put their hand up and said, "Can I have two?" And yeah, it was just that to me it's hearing the dad. He calls us dad.
Yes.
And he can call us whatever he wants, really. But
And we wouldn't be offended. Like if he didn't want to, if he felt embarrassed or didn't want to.
our oldest doesn't. Our oldest calls us by our names.
Yes.
And our youngest does at times, but he'll refer to us as dad.
Yes.
When he's playing PlayStation with his friends and he's on the mic and he'll be like, "My dad just came home from work. I got to get off the PlayStation," or anything.
I think the older one uses it more of an authority on us, doesn't he? Richard, I told you.
Yeah, so they're the little things. It's not always about focusing on the challenging side of things. The shocks for me wasn't the challenges. The shocks for me was the "I love yous" and the
Yes.
dads, the "Can I have help? What do you think of this outfit?"
Yes.
The identity.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The
Yeah,
identity
100%. That was
shifted.
the
We went from a
biggest thing
kid
for
that
me.
had no sense of his own, like didn't like himself, was putting on weight, was on, you know, a little bit more medication, just was eating really poor, to now a kid that values what he eats and really cares about, you know, he does gym every day. I mean, he does OT, physio, behavioral, speech, behavioral, and the gym and the mentoring. Does more than most adults. Most kids wouldn't do that, you know. So, but, you know, I think one of the things that we do that's a bit different is that we celebrate the little things.
Yes.
And we don't even entertain the bigger things. So when he does, and look,
The struggles. We don't focus heavily on the struggles or the challenges that these kids can face because they do face, correct. So it's not just home.
Yes.
You face struggles and challenges every single day. You can cut your finger cutting a cucumber, and that could be a struggle. But the struggles of meeting my family, being around such a large crowd, a large group, being in a home where Christmas is actually celebrated and not like I have to wake up to nobody sort of thing. I try and celebrate the major things that happen that are positive. I don't focus heavily on the negatives in our household because it could easily bring them back down. They could easily fall back into a really hard trap. And I'm not saying that they do and they don't. It's more about we give them the strength to be able to be like, yeah, you know what? Today was challenging at school. I did get in trouble at school for my teacher today. And we sit down and we have those conversations. Why? You tell me what happened.
Yes.
Your teacher gave me her side of the story, but I want to hear yours.
Yes.
You tell me where you think you may have made a mistake or why you think you got in trouble. And if you don't believe you deserve to get in trouble, tell me why. Tell me what happened. And breaking it down and giving them the opportunity to be like, you know what, you do have a voice. I'm not just going to be your voice. As much as I will stand up there and yell and shout on any rooftop to defend my children, I want to be able to give them that same power, that same confidence to be able to stand there and be like, you know what? I can stand up for myself when I need to. Not to say they're disrespecting an adult, but you know what? There's three sides to every story. I've lived my life like that. So I want to teach them the same thing. You know what? You come to the table with the truth, we can fix it.
Yes.
You come to the table without the truth, I'm not going to work on a lie.
That's one of the big things. I mean, for him, look, when he came with us, he did lie a lot and made up stories, and but I knew that was going to happen, so it didn't surprise me. And I told him straight out, like, I think you're lying, and I need you to work on that, because you don't need to. You're not going to get in trouble. But it's really helpful that we start to really work on it. So those topics stop being taboo topics. They were just quite open topics, and I would just call it out to say, well, I think you are, and this is why, and how do I help you through that? So it was never just that you're lying. It's about, how do I help you through that? So he knew that I got his back each and every time.
Yes.
And it took, I think for the first 4 months, would often come and say, I've been working on it and I haven't been lying.
Awesome.
Which is just like so weird but so cool.
Yes.
That that he's actively being aware of when he's lying, because it becomes, look, I mean, I was the same, like when I grew up as well. Lying is not because you want to actually lie. It's a protective factor. It's what you do, because if I tell you the truth, you're going to judge me, or you're going to hate me, or you probably disown me, and it's going to cause bigger issues. And if I just lie about it, then it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So it's just about making sure that we don't have topics that are taboo, and that we are open, and that I'm going to call you on it, because that's what someone that loves and cares for you. Because and I've said to him, in 5-6 years' time, when you're 18, 19, you're going to look back on this. And I was really open and said that if things don't work out for you, it's because you didn't put the effort in. And I need you to understand that. But I've got your back. We've got your back.
Yes.
But it's, and I don't know, maybe it was that conversation, but it just seems to have hit home. And a year and a half later, we've got a kid that's really putting in a lot of effort.
And he knows
awesome.
I can tell past his lies anyway.
They're not good liars. They're not good liars, but
it's very, very hard to be, particularly when you're a child.
Yeah.
So obviously we can hear that there's lots and lots of hard work going into the building of this relationship and creating a family that people feel secure in. How do you maintain yourselves, and how is there still part of you outside being a foster carer? Is there a component, of self-care, of, can you see yourself and your identity that you had before? Is there still part of that there, or is it all about being a foster carer now?
I'm going to say it first. I don't think there's any change. I am exactly the same.
Yes.
I don't think there's any. I mean, maybe it's
We don't
different.
want there to be a change.
They
They
can't be.
The kids both came into our care and fit in really well.
Yes.
Self-care is always very important. And I probably do it a little bit more than Richard, but I include them in it.
Yes.
I don't hide away. Like if I'm going to go and get a foot massage, I'm going to ask the kids, you want to go get a foot massage? Because I can sit there in silence for an hour while I'm getting one, but they can too.
Yes.
And they can enjoy it too. And they can learn what it's like to also self-care.
Yes.
Same thing with when we're at home. I could go to a facialist and I can get a facial done for 2.5 hours. But what I did is I went and bought all the products. They're growing boys. They're going to have pimples and acne. And what I did is I just brought it in and I taught them, you know what? Let's all go into our bathrooms and spend 20 minutes cleansing our face and teaching them how to do it. And what we did was we still have our date nights, because I've got a really good support system as well, which is extremely important. I hope we touch on it. Having a support system outside of just the two of us gives us an opportunity to still be able to go and have dinner, the both of us, even though we probably haven't in about 3-4 months.
Thinking, have I missed something? I haven't been anywhere.
We should schedule one in, eh? But I do work full time, so a lot of my time is at work. So I try my hardest that when I'm not at work to try and focus a lot of my energy on the boys, watching a movie, playing PlayStation with them, helping them with their homework, whatever it takes, because I can self-care when they're in bed. I can sit and watch my shows, or me and Richard can have a private conversation. We've got beautiful areas in our home that we can sit out the back and all that sort of stuff. That gives us the opportunity to give us our one-on-one time if need be, whilst we still, care for each other, care for ourselves, and care for the boys, and include them in all those fun things that a
But
lot
no-
of adults don't like
But
to
none
include
of it
children
is
in.
unorganic though. Like none of it is. It's business as usual.
Yes.
You know. So as an example, the kids get up, they get ready for school, they go to school, they come back. The little one knows that he comes downstairs, goes upstairs, gets changed, comes downstairs, does half an hour of, a education program, whether it's reading or, study ladder, whatever it is, then goes outside, does their gym for half an hour, and then does their session that they've got with the OT, whoever that comes in. That's their routine. So even when they're, doing their half an hour study, that's our time. We've got our own time.
Yes.
So we're not interrupted, but it's because we have a routine.
Yes.
It's so important that
Yes.
they know it's predictable.
Yep.
So in terms of that self-care, that's a big part because we can have all the care and do all the massage and everything, but if the kids don't have a routine,
Yep.
that's
Of
where
course,
they
but
fall.
it's definitely, yes, the routine is very important, 100%.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
so is my massage.
Not as important.
And obviously that very much helps, everything to be sustainable in your household. What about, what sorts of things do you think might make foster care as a greater system more sustainable? So beyond your family, what things do you think other foster carers need and what does the system need?
I think Richard is probably sitting on the edge of his seat waiting to answer this question.
Go for it.
Because
then.
he does have a lot of views on it. I'm just going to give my little points.
Hey Fern, do you remember what that support service that offers training, resources and support for carers is called?
You mean Carers for Kids New South Wales?
Yes, that's the one. And it's all free, right?
All free, all confidential, so you can access support whenever you need it.
Amazing. How do I contact them?
I'm pretty sure it's 1300 782 975, or you could visit their website, carersforkidsnewsouthwales.org.au.
Having our support systems outside of our family and friends who have been in our lives for as long as I remember, you have the great supports like NDIS who have programs out there that a lot of people still don't know about.
Yes.
That is extremely important because you don't know. You don't know what's out there unless you ask the question. And NDIS provides some real good opportunities for these kids. OT and like Richard has said, OT, behavioural, all that sort of stuff. It's not something that foster parents even know about if they never ever had a child that has a disability or requires that assistance. That's a big thing for foster parents to ask the agencies, what is their history in terms of do they have a disability and what programs have they been a part of? And if they've never been a part of a program, it means NDIS has never been visited.
Yes.
So that's one little bit for me, which has been a massive support for us, is that we've got a real good team. The people that come over and assist our boys with the help that they need has been fantastic. They have become a part of our family.
Yes.
So they come in to our home and provide this support for our kids and us as well, because it allows us, they give us little tricks of the trade, we'll call it, to assist our boys when they're not there.
Yes.
With their homework, with their conversations, with their confidence, with their behaviours, all that sort of stuff. But I think Richard will touch on a far broader what's required for foster parents, I think.
Look, my thing's probably a bit different. So look, I guess in terms of, why I got into foster care, a big part is, yes, of course, to care for children appropriately. But I think the sector is really under-resourced, which is, it's a huge conversation, but it's one that I hear directly from carers, and are leaving by the dozens a lot because they either don't fund placements appropriately, or now we're kind of moving into a new phase of people now feeling, well, what's going to happen to me when I retire and I can't keep up with my qualifications and I don't have any superannuation. Money is a big issue because these kids come at a cost.
Yes.
And it's a huge cost. And as an example, there are things that frighten carers coming on board. Things like psych bills, braces, all these costs that sometimes some services don't get funded for it.
Yeah.
And it ends up being you take on a child and you end up being out of pocket. And I've got a real issue with that.
Yes.
because they are the department's children. And we have, our role is to provide them with a safe and nurturing home. But sadly, we do. We have a lot of carers that don't provide that level of care, and it's not usually it wasn't why they came into it to begin with, but it's sadly where they've ended up because of that lack of support, the lack of care, and it's meant that they've had to then kind of step back a bit because they financially are unable to keep them, but now they've committed to the child. I think in terms of, opening this up to new foster carers and people wanting to come on board, it's not that scary. I think it's about your mindset. Mm-hmm. If you have a mindset that it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult, and the kids are going to be hell, well, chances are that will all come, is it to fruition? Because
you're manifesting the negative.
Well, yes. And the thing is that it's not saying that the kids are going to be angels because, if you think about where they were from and what's happened, well, they're not.
I sure as hell wasn't.
I love how he says wasn't. It's still an issue, but we're working through that.
Oh, it says the 45-year-old child sitting in a chair next to me.
44. Just a reminder. But, I think when it comes to, other carers, it's just about making sure the expectations that is being set is meetable and that you're prepared to ride the waves, because if you think you're not going to have waves, you will. But I will say we've had amazing waves. I wouldn't swap it for the world.
Yes.
It's been more good than bad.
Yes.
And it's not been that bad. I think, like I said, it's the relationships. If you can build a relationship with a child, they will be forever loyal.
Yes.
Kids are good and kids are moldable.
And what does good support, day to day for foster carers so that they can build those sorts of relationships? What does that support look like for foster carers?
I don't know. From where I sit, I think it's about being honest and transparent with us, not making carers feel like they are the problem.
Yes.
It's that kind of the judgment. I mean, I've had caseworkers that have been fantastic, but I've had ones where I've pretty much driven them out of their home and been very clear that their conduct is not appropriate and that when they enter a home, this is what the expectation is. Some have not returned back. Some have returned back, and we've got really good carers now because it's, our children's home, it's our home, and, there are rules and expectations that sit with any family home that has to exist. You've got to have things in place because kids will respect you for it. But if you don't respect your own self and you're unable to advocate for your child, then chances are the kids will replicate what they see. Kids are very, very smart. They watch and they learn and they mimic and they see what happens. We've got two very respectful kids, and it's because we are respectful. We are honest. We are transparent. I think if there's anything, a key message to people is, like I said in the beginning, is always think not what's wrong with them, is what has happened to them. And I think when you come from a place of understanding and seeking to understand, you will learn a lot. And I mean, I don't regret it. I would take on more kids, but I've got, Naji. I need Naji's permission at the moment. But I love the difficult kids. I find them,
when you hide the challenges away from me,
I find them more interesting. And if I can just share something with you now, our young boy, he's got another older brother, and he's being disconnected for quite some time from him and just from the family as a whole. And I've met him a few times, and I wanted to engage with him on a different level. And I spoke to his carer as well, and she said that he's just been falling behind a lot. And, she's worried for him, and he's kind of had a few really bad episodes. I've been engaging with him now for about 5 months, and he's back at school. He's now got braces, and he's just doing a lot better. He was depressed. He had self-harm ideation. It wasn't looking the best for him, but he's now started to engage with his brother. So, and I think, and then he messages to say, hey, thanks for really caring about me and thanks for showing up. So I think it's, and I'm busy. We're busy. But I said to him, I was like, I really see value in this, because sometimes you just have to give that time, and sometimes they just need to know that you can see them.
Yes.
That you can hear me.
Yes.
And I'm glad I did, because I've got a really good relationship with his brother. I've got a great relationship with his mum. And I think it's important that we're able to do a lot, but it's on us. It's on how we
Communicate.
and what we put forward as well.
Yes.
And to touch on support, I know this is probably going to come out of left field. We're actually starting a social media page, both Richard and I, on TikTok, which is probably one of the biggest platforms at the moment. Hopefully it'll migrate over to Instagram, Facebook and YouTube, to show foster parents some extra support online. And you know what? Sometimes I wish I had a video that I could watch that could have given me an answer or given me some hope. And I think that's something that both Richard and I are starting in the coming months. So look out.
Excellent.
It's a great opportunity for us to raise awareness, reach out to people who don't know about foster care, and give foster carers an opportunity to also reach out to us if they need help, if they need assistance, if they need support, if they have a question, a random question, they could ask us. We might not have the answer, but we definitely can find someone that has an answer. There's not a lot of people out there on social media that's showing this support to these foster parents. So we want to be able to be out there and express our absolute amazing path that we've gone through with our two boys and some of the struggles and challenges, because they're part of life. And that's another avenue that I wish I had, because I searched it up. There isn't a lot. There's American YouTubers that go on and do it, but our aim is to be out there and show support to foster carers so they have another avenue rather than asking another person. And I just want to quickly touch on case managers. Their load is huge.
Yes.
They don't have enough time in one day to be able to be case managers, full case managers. We've had case managers come in to our home who have 25 kids, 24 kids, 17. I still think and you've got to visit them once a month. How do you get through that in a 20-day month, in a 20-day working month when you've got 17 children and you're trying to get out there and still do their paperwork? So to all the foster parents out there, I know sometimes they get really frustrated with these case managers, and it's really good to express that frustration, but also just be patient, polite, because you catch more bees with honey.
Yes.
And that's just one thing that I want to touch at, because they are there to support you, and sometimes they also need the support and patience. Just that little touch of patience from the carers is sometimes all they need.
Yes.
And it's also okay as a carer to just do what you need to do, make decisions. I do it all the time. I don't ask for permission because that's just who I am.
It's always easier to ask for forgiveness, right?
So it is. Look, it's good, and it's important that we, as foster parents, don't rely on someone else to make decisions. If I sit there waiting for caseworkers to come back with information, it's not going to happen.
No, and I think it's part of the relationship building that you're talking about. What you actually have to do with your foster children, foster young people, is also the relationships that you have to have with the case managers, with the therapists, with everybody. It's just
100%.
sort of whole part of the whole package. I've heard so many things that I know that your children will be remembering later in life when they remember their time at home with you both. But what do you wish that they really hang on to when they're adults? What do you want them to remember most about, their time when they first came to you, their time with you and obviously ongoing time as a family?
I would want them to remember that every decision and every choice that was made was because of them.
Yes.
Because we don't make decisions.
Yes.
And should be very proud of it. We don't force them to do anything. They don't want to do it. It's their choice. But it's making sure that they understand the consequences of those choices. And I think both of them have always come and risen to the challenge of making great choices. So if there's anything, it's that they should be absolutely proud of where they are, because it's on them, not on us.
And one big lesson that I teach my kids every single day is respect. You're going to walk out your front door, you walk out with respect. The way you look, the way you dress, the way you approach a person, whether you know them or you don't. Always have respect for yourself first and for everybody else that you come in contact with. That's one of the biggest lessons that I want to teach my kids, and I want them to take it with them into their adulthood, and hopefully when they meet somebody or have kids of their own or choose to foster. Respect is a massive thing. It's something my family is very big on, and it's something that I want our family to remain and continue to teach into our boys. So
Good values and their good values.
Of course, 100%.
Wonderful.
This is really funny. So my young one downstairs has to often remind me what to and not to wear. So sometimes I'll wear shoes and I'll put the wrong socks on, and I'll say, you put the wrong socks on, you got the wrong shoes, you shouldn't. And I'm going to let Naji know because I will leave the house. I don't care what I'm looking like, but he's very, very particular. So that's, something that they hold on to. They pick up stuff so quick.
Yes.
He had no sense of style before Naji. I still don't, and I probably never will. But
He had a sense of style, just wasn't the right one.
okay, but
Anyway,
thank you
we'll
so much.
finish on a great note. Our boys are amazing. This is a step that I wish I did earlier,
Yes.
and I want to shout out to everybody. If you have the means, the time, the space, the effort, the patience, foster. Every single child deserves a home. Every single child deserves love. Every single child deserves to be respected because they are human. And one day, I don't want to wake up and be like, I had all this time and I did nothing with it. I could travel the world. I could go out and spend countless nights having dinners. But you know what? The most memorable in my 38 years of life is sitting at my dinner table with my two boys and being happy.
Yes.
Because they gave me just as much of a blessing as I hope to give them. And I say it to everybody, if you've got it, patience is big, but if you've got the means, go out there and foster a child because they need it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of A Home and Healing for Every Child podcast. We hope you enjoyed it and look forward to having you join us for the next episode. Stay up to date with the latest news, stories, training and upcoming events by subscribing and following along on our socials at Adopt Change or Carers for Kids New South Wales.